The next guy that I want to bring up is Josh Green. The Dallas Mavericks, I'll just pose this question. Is Josh Green currently the third best player on the Dallas Mavericks?
Well, there's not really a whole lot to pick from, but yeah, I think I would probably go Josh. He's been really good. His his February has been very kind to him, and he's been very kind to it. So yeah, I would say that he's up there, especially for what they want to do going forward. Yeah,
I think he is the third best player on the Dallas Mavericks since he got back from that little injury. He is averaging 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2.3 assists while shooting 52% from the field, 38% from three, 73% from the line. Has entered the starting lineup over the course of those last 7 games and just run with it. He truly has just run with it in such a substantial way. And I think that he is absolutely enormous to what they do. If you look at the on-off numbers with Josh Green, they are a -1 when he is off the court. They're a +4 when he's on the court. And you can say he's played a lot of minutes with Luka Doncic, except you kind of can't. Uh, Under 50% of his minutes on the court this season have actually come with Luka. But when he does play with Luka, that duo just absolutely kills. They're a +11.2 in the Josh Green, Luka Doncic minutes this season, which are, if I remember correctly, about 450 minutes. They have a 111.1 defensive rating when Josh Green is on the court with Luka Doncic. He's just enormous. Like he has been absolutely enormous for them. His energy, his activity level, he never stops moving, never stops running, never stops going. The shooting has been enough to make it work. He's been confident enough as a shooter. I think much like what we talked about with Isaac Okoro, Josh Green's shooting has ironed out a little bit as well. He no longer has that little bit of a hitch kind of coming across like from he kind of brings it up the middle left side a little bit and then kind of brought it across a little bit. He's fixed that, it seems like, over the course of the last couple of years. So Josh Green is enormous. He is absolutely huge, I think, for Dallas's chance to make a deep run in the playoffs.
again, also only 6'5", but yes, especially
You're
defensively,
just
like
killing me with these guys that are like only 6'5". I mean,
yeah,
I'm here for it.
yeah, but no, like I think in especially like what we talked about on the last pod with how small Dallas is probably going to be playing down the stretch now. Um, for what they're trying to do defensively, just to be active again, not necessarily that they're good, but being active. Having him and his ability to cover ground and muck things up is going to be really important. Getting more out of him as a short roll guy is going to be important, and especially too, just like for a team that frankly hasn't drafted well outside of Luka, like having a win as an organization out of drafting a guy who is starting to look like somebody and prioritizing that and making him continue to become somebody. Because like obviously, Josh Green is not going to become like a star level player. Like I would bet against that. But having another guy that is turning into somebody who and I'm not trying to trade him preeminently, but like he could become part of like a package that you're trading for a star, or he just becomes somebody who is like one of the players on the next great Dallas team, or like the next iteration of like great Dallas teams alongside Luka moving forward. Because obviously, that's probably not quite what this year is going to be. It would be cool if it was. I would love to see it happen. But exactly, like I think continuing to get him more experience and developing into this guy who is just kind of a hybrid everything that can play alongside Luka and be a dominant secondary player or tertiary player is what you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember the whole Bob Hulgaris thing where he got
How
like
could
an
I
immense amount
forget?
of shit for taking Josh Green over Sadiq Bey? Who would you rather have now, Sadiq Bey or Josh Green?
Depends on the team, but it would be Josh here for sure.
I don't even think it depends on the team. I think it's
Yeah.
very clearly Josh Green. I don't even think it's close. One of them can defend, right? Like that's really what it comes down to. Josh is a
Yeah.
good defender. Now, I'm glad you actually brought up the fact that Josh Green is 6'5", because I think this is a critical part of the equation. He has been really good defensively. I think he is much better dealing with smaller guys than like having to defend up the lineup has
For
been
sure.
what I've seen from him. Losing Dorian Finney-Smith, though, I think is big because if you lose Dorian Finney-Smith, he is the guy that could guard up the lineup, deal with those stronger dudes, those more physical wing forward types. Like if they run into the Clippers again, like Is Josh Green going to have to guard Kawhi Leonard? That seems like it
Yeah.
won't go well for Josh Green. If Josh Green has to guard a smaller guy than Kawhi Leonard, like if you have to throw Josh Green on Desmond Bane for a while, and Desmond's had a great year, he's a 20-point per game scorer, I think that's something that will go much better for Josh Green, right?
Yeah, I think the hope is like obviously like you mentioned, I think the hope's gonna be like honestly like Maxi Kleber is almost like their swing guy because like if he's not healthy,
Yeah.
then I have a lot less faith in them in a playoff series because they lose like any real kind of versatility in their roster. Like man, dude. Now I'm just thinking about him in that playoff series against the Clippers, both playoff series against the Clippers, but the first one, the bubble playoff series against the Clippers, man, he was so good.
Yeah, I mean, Maxi is enormous for them too. Originally, I was going to say Maxi, but Josh has just been so good over the last
Yeah.
month. Like he actually might just be their third best player at this point. I mean, he's not their third most talented player is Christian Wood, but I just don't know how much we can count on Christian Wood. And frankly, I don't know how much you can play a Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, Christian Wood triumvirate in the playoffs defensively. I think there's just a lot of mismatches that can be attacked that way.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
you know what? Like, it feels like a lot of Christian Wood stuff tends to be like engagement and like being locked in. Maybe he'll lock in for the playoffs. Like, I guess that's not impossible, right? There are moments where Christian Wood shows defensive flashes, right? I mean, maybe I'm being too positive, but it's not impossible that he could figure it out. But I think Maxi and Josh are the two guys that are going to play in the critical moments for Dallas with Luka and with Kyrie, right? And then maybe it's Reggie Bullock, maybe it's Christian Wood, maybe it's Tim Hardaway at times, maybe it's you can point to other potential players, except like you almost kind of can't just because how much depth do they really have?
Yeah.
But there are not a ton of options here. I think that their best bet is going to be going two-way players first as opposed to offensive players first.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
And then the other thing that I think is really big for Josh Green, I would be tying Josh Green to like Kyrie's hip because Josh Green excels like trying to run and get out in transition. And Kyrie is just better at pushing in transition than Luka is, right? Like Luka does want to slow it down a little bit more. I think that Kyrie pairing with Josh Green out on the break when Kyrie does decide to push in transition, that is something that can be beneficial for Dallas.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think we saw some glimpses of what that can look like already. And it's definitely got me excited for what the rest of the year can look like.